right now, one of the strangest battlegrounds between China and America isn't trade, technology, or politics. It's a 22-year-old freestyle skier named谷爱凌. Because instead of choosing the country she was born in, she chose to compete for the country that her mother came from. And suddenly, what should have been a sports story turned into a national loyalty debate. Now, US politicians like J.D. Vance publicly questioned why someone who benefited from the freedoms and education of America would represent China instead, while voices aligned with Donald Trump have framed situations like this as America losing talent to a rival power. Now, meanwhile,谷爱凌response has been simple. She just says that people only seem to have a problem because it's China, and if she wasn't winning, nobody would care. So, what started as an Olympic decision has become something much bigger, a conversation now about identity, power, and who gets to claim success in a world where belonging isn't as simple as one flag anymore. Now, if you've followed the Winter Olympics at all over the past few years, you will know exactly who she is. I mean, she's young, she's stylish, she's insanely talented, and she made a decision that shocked a lot of people. She chose to compete for China instead of the United States. And ever since then, the conversation hasn't really been about skiing anymore. It's been about her loyalty and, honestly, control. So let's talk about her story properly, because the way people are reacting says a lot more about the world than about her. Now, she was born in San Francisco to an American father and a Chinese mother. She grew up between cultures, speaking English and Mandarin, training inside the American system and seen for years as one of Team USA's future stars in freestyle skiing. But then, in 2019, she announced that she would represent China instead, saying that she wanted to inspire young people, especially girls, in a country where her mom came from. At first, it sounded like a personal decision, something that actually happens all the time in global sport, where athletes compete for countries connected to the family or their identity. But the reaction in America was completely different, because this wasn't someone leaving a smaller country for the US. This was someone raised in the US choosing China. And then when she went to the Olympics, and she didn't just compete, but she won 2 gold medals and a silver, she became one of the biggest stars of the games. And suddenly the conversation stopped being about skiing and it became about loyalty and politics. Like, people like J.D. Vance openly questioned like how someone like her, raised in America, could turn around and then suddenly represent China, framing it as kind of a betrayal rather than a personal identity choice. And then Donald Trump pushed the idea that America had somehow lost talent to a rival nation, which turned,谷爱凌into a geopolitical talking point. And the tone wasn't really about fairness in sport. It was more about control, about who gets to claim the success. And what made this reaction even stronger is that she didn't just participate, right? She dominated. She became this global icon, landing magazine covers, fashion campaigns, and worldwide attention while competing for China. And that visibility seemed to make people even more uncomfortable, because athletes switch countries all the time and nobody says anything. When it benefits the West, of course, but when someone with American roots succeeds under a Chinese flag, suddenly it becomes a loyalty test. I mean, Eileen Gu's response, she just stayed calm throughout it all. She's repeatedly said she's not choosing between countries, but she's embracing both sides of her identity and wants to be a bridge rather than a symbol of division. And instead of attacking critics, she keeps bringing the conversation back to opportunity, saying she hopes her success shows young girls in China that winter sports are possible for them too, which is actually a big deal because for decades, those sports were seen as inaccessible in China. And what's interesting is that while she's been criticized politically in the US, in China, she's been celebrated not just as an athlete, but as someone representing a new kind of global confidence, someone who can move between worlds without apologizing. I mean, studying at Stanford while competing for China and building a career that exists across systems rather than inside just one. And I think part of why this story hits so hard is because it exposes something uncomfortable, right? America is used to being the destination, the place talent moves toward, not the place someone might choose to move away from, and especially not towards China. So her success completely disrupted that narrative. The louder the criticism got, the more she kept things simple, focusing on sport, identity being layered, and refusing to play into the idea that she had to pick one side permanently. And maybe that's what really unsettles people, because the world is changing and identity is no longer this one flag, one story situation. Her story fits perfectly into this Woman Alone in China series because it's not just about where she skis. It's about how she navigates systems that wants to define her while she defines herself. And whether people like it or not, she didn't just win medals. She challenged an old assumption that success belongs to one nation and showed that in today's world, belonging can be bigger than borders. Now, before I stop rambling, before I go, I just want to end this on a human note. You know, if谷爱凌ever happens to see this, I just want to say I'm really sorry to hear about your grandmother, to go from winning gold today, yesterday when this video goes up, to winning the Winter Olympics and then receiving news like that. That's something no one is ever really prepared for. And behind all the politics, the debates, all the headlines, there's still a real person going through those real moments. And my thoughts are with you and your family. So yeah, to everyone watching, I hope you enjoyed this discussion. And, you know, if you want more stories like this, Women Alone in China series, please don't forget to like the video, share it with someone who might find it interesting. We've got some more interviews still lined up. I'm just not bothering anyone during this time because, you know, everyone's on Chinese New Year, everyone's on holiday. But as soon as I get back in China, I'm going to do some more interviews for you guys. So don't forget to comment down below as well what questions you want me to ask. But thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.
播报新闻是我的日常，必须时刻保持妆容和皮肤的最佳状态。当来到人生中最重要的时刻，也是 KS 逆时奇迹帮助我轻松驾驭，闪闪发光。KS 逆时奇迹活肤露全效精华、精华霜，多达5种 EGF 6大冻龄关键成分，保湿效果让我非常满意，小细纹也不再困扰我。我就是我自己的最佳女主角 ，KS 让我从容自信，光彩动人。我是我人生中的大女主。我的最爱，我做主。KS 逆时奇迹系列热卖中，下单请上快点购，透过中天新闻网 App 下单立减50，或输入 CTI 推荐码有额外折扣。